It is April 26th, 2021. It's a Monday. It feels like a Monday. It feels a lot like a Monday. But I do appreciate that early heart react. Heart reacts are nice. When you give yourself to something like this kind of day in, day out, even when you don't feel like it, the heart reacts really do it. Angry reacts also help. I think there was a big heart react, from anybody who was paying attention. I know I have personal friends who have worked very, very hard over the course of the last year to lobby to the executive branch to recognize the Armenian Genocide. So Saturday, and that's my bad when we were doing Fury's Comedy Hour, but it kind of went missed. And so I wanted to recognize that as well. I mean, it's been 106 years since it started, and this is the first time a U.S. president has ever formally recognized that it was a genocide. And as much as I don't like Joe Biden, you got to go by issue, and you've got to stand on principle. And I know that that's something that we had advocated here on this program, obviously with our namesake and everything else. So that was nice. It was nice to see. The problem, as there always is with good intentions or the moral high ground, is that you're going to have people who don't like the stand you take. Now, whether or not Joe Biden was even particularly aware of the stand he took, or if it was actually more the work of Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, we don't have to pick that apart too much. But President Erdogan of Turkey, he reacted exactly how everybody expected, I think. And, obviously he was incensed over it. And what we're seeing in that region right now is dangerous, to say the least. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot to throw, the Caucasus and Eurasia and Eastern Europe into war right now. I think Russia's feeling very threatened, as they always have, by NATO incursions into what they feel is their, really at some point you can just say God-given territory. When you talk about Crimea and Eastern Ukraine, there are large populations of loyalists to the Russian Federation. And so there's this interesting situation developing with Turkey, who is a NATO ally, being pushed almost further away from classical NATO alliances. And I don't think that President Biden's proclamation helps that. Maybe that's good. Maybe that's bad. I'll get some other opinions. Let's convene the council. If we can. I mean, I could just sit here all night probably and talk to myself.
Yeah, no, you should. You should. We were waxing quite eloquently about this.
I want to get
recognition
to something though. What happened to your goat, your little pet goat in the back?
Oh, I took it off for court and I haven't put it back up.
Gotcha.
It seemed a little excessive for court.
Just for court though, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, look. Anyways, Zoom court's weird because you don't even know how to act. I got to be honest. It's not the same as going into.
Have you worn pants yet?
I wear pants to court.
Gotcha.
So anyway, I mean, here we are. I mean, the Armenian Genocide was finally recognized. I mean, the rest of Eastern Europe is
not happy
in a strange spot. What are your thoughts?
I just think it's always a dollar a day. It's always a dollar late, day short, whatever the saying is.
You're high already, Lou?
Yeah. I'm very high.
You pull in like a Biff thing and saying like that.
It's like the guy that didn't read the book report. And so it's just like, all right, tell us about the book, Lou.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah,
That's funny.
okay,
But no, so what I think is it seems as if this could only be used in an inflammatory way to foment war. That this is not helping in this situation. If they wanted to take this stance in the 70s, is maybe when they should have.
Maybe. I mean, that's part of my problem. It's like I say, you know, a good friend of the program, you know, I know she lobbied really, really hard for this to happen. So, you know, speaking with her, it was like, oh,
Yeah, that
this
right there.
win. And I knew that Trump was never going to take that stand because he was, you know, working on having you know, a close relationship with Erdogan for strategic purposes. It doesn't seem like the most strategic maneuver of the Biden administration, for sure.
Do you believe World War III is still coming up in the next 10 years?
You got to define World War III. I mean, I think we're headed into some major conflict. You have to. I mean, when you talk about, you know, leadership approval ratings, I mean, in Ukraine, I think their guy, and I can't remember, he was like right at 23%. Putin, his numbers were less than 40%, which is the worst they've ever been.
Right.
So you have a lot of leaders that are, you know, in trouble. And when you have that, they're willing to do kind of weird things.
Magda dog.
All right. Well, I guess to add, my 2 cents, not that it's worth a lot. I look at it strategically here. So we haven't recognized this in over 100 years. There were strategic reasons why the Trump administration didn't do it, because they believed they could bring Erdogan into the fold. That was a fool's errand, but that was something at least to be done. How much of this is just a thumb in the eye of the Russians? Who were the Russians on the side of during the recent conflict?
That's why I'm asking about
Well,
World
that's tough to say. I mean, when you talk about the Russians, essentially they went in and brokered a ceasefire. But as part of that ceasefire, they basically told Armenia that they just have to give up Artsakh to Azerbaijan, and so that was, you know, that was.
So that literally tells me then they went in on the side of the Uzbeks, and so this is nothing more than a thumb in the eye of that. This is just the petulance of the Biden administration doing whatever it wants and needs to do to thumb in the eye of. Allow me to please wax eloquent about what the hell is actually going on. This is actually strategic in a way. This is, I mean, it should have been recognized 100 years ago for what it was. But we didn't. And we believed over time we could bring Turkey into NATO, and by extension, Turkey into Europe. The Europeans are xenophobic. They were never going to let an Islamic country on their outer borders allowed into the EU. So that was never going to happen. We needed them strategically for our big firecrackers. Now that we have a dictator in charge, we're not there anymore with our big firecrackers. And it's literally the continual petulance of the Biden administration to thumb in the eye of the Russians. Whatever the Russians want to do, the Russians, to their credit, did at least broker a ceasefire. You know, it's more than could be said for the Trump administration and for the American administration as a whole, because we've never really done anything in these conflicts. It just seems to me that, like, this is just, I don't know. It's good for the recognition, but I think it's a geopolitical move.
It seems like you're also trying to take away Sean's first kudos to the Biden administration.
That doesn't, well, look here. I just said that this should have been done a long time ago. Someone did it. That's fine. I'm just telling you, I'm very cynical when an administration that has shown complete petulance to anything the Russian Federation has done, and coming from the party that shitted on everything Trump did, that even hinted at being friendly to the Russian Federation. This is just more of the same. This is like blaming Russia for every damn thing that happened from January 16th tangentially to SolarWinds hack to all these other things. This is just a continuation of just thumbing in the eye of the Russian Federation. Same thing is, I'm actually kind of iffy about whether or not we actually pull out of Afghanistan in September 11th, even though it's been a long time coming. Come on, what are we doing in that region?
It is,
right?
Look, the whole reason, besides the opium, the whole reason why we were in Afghanistan, why the United States was there, was because it's right on China's doorstep. So there's been a long history of the United States setting up bases around their enemies, because that's strategically probably pretty smart in a lot of ways. The problem with that is that as you encroach on their territory more and more, they're more likely to do hostile things. So, like, for instance, when you talk about Eastern Ukraine, that's what guards Stalingrad. And that's what guards Russia's access to both the Caspian and Black Seas. If Russia loses access to the Caspian and Black Sea, they've got major problems. That's why it was so important for Hitler to take that stretch of land during World War II.
I mean, we can even go back even further to the fact that we basically expanded NATO into Eastern Europe, thumbing in the eye of the Russians once again. I don't know. We have this love-hate relationship with them. We also interfered greatly during color revolutions in the Ukraine, which is, again, was a proxy of the Russian Federation. And basically all the Russians have done now is frustrate efforts in that region of the world, particularly for Ukraine, because we effed with them when it came to the color revolutions that brought in the filth of the Biden, Obama, Manafort grossness that has basically perpetuated the corruption of that state in perpetuity. It feels like, and now they're just frustrating on the border with the Russian dissidents. They're pulling the same thing as a Hitler strategy, where it's just basically like, well, we have Russians in the Sudetenland, i.e., Eastern Ukraine, and they're just and they actually kind of have justifiable reasons for, at the very least, creating friction in that region of the world. It's because you're right. We've been encroaching on them for a very long period of time. That doesn't mean in a straight up fight we couldn't curb stomp them with slightly massive loss of life, but it's this thing, right? I mean, I was just looking at it like a little mini docudrama about them shitting on the Sputnik vaccine. It's just like, well, look, man, I mean, the Russians are going to do what the Russians got to do. They poison their political enemies. I don't really think that they give a shit about phase 3 trials. Come to find out, though, pretty effective vaccine. And everything that they do, good, bad, or indifferent, is looked at through this ira of they're trying to undermine democracy around the world.
Well, and I think that has been a problem with U.S. foreign policy ever since we supposedly won the Cold War.
Yeah, Pyrrhic victory.
It was like, ha, we won, now you're a bitch. And that's kind of how the U.S. has treated Russia. And I think that was a huge mistake early on that's almost impossible to correct now. You almost push them into a situation where they had to act out this way in order to maintain power and legitimacy within their own country.
Yeah, Putin.
Because nobody wants to go back to their people within their own country, even in North Korea. You can't go to your people and say, yeah, we're the United States' bitch. I mean, that's how you lose power. That's how you lose legitimacy on that political scale.
That's how you end up getting executed in a public square with your wife, right? Yeah. That's how that stuff happens. Rest in hell, Ceausescu. But I don't know. I mean, I'm glad that they finally recognized this. This has been a long time coming. There have been many bitch-ass administrations prior, even the last one that was so badass about, moving the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem. But here's the deal. I mean, what does that do, right? I just think it's just to continue petulance of the Biden administration at all levels to like undo everything Trump, right? Trump wouldn't have done this, so that means we need to do this. Yeah. Like Trump wanted to pull out on, like January, February of this year from Afghanistan. We'll wait till September 11th.
Yeah. Just because.
That's
smarter. We're a much wiser adult administration.
We're the adults.
Trump loved America. We're gonna love China. Like that.
That's a good one right there, because that's true.
I mean, speaking of which, Jen Psaki, what did she say today? She was clarifying that Biden didn't mean that he was willing to work with Republicans across the aisle when he talked about unity in his inauguration speech. He clarified that what he was talking about was with Americans. So apparently,
Republicans, they're duly represent. Their representatives don't count.
Yeah, they're representatives.
So no. Oh no. I meant I was going to work with the Republicans with my boot on their neck.
Well,
that's what I was going to do.
It's interesting that we're sitting here talking about how, Russia, you can't speak to your people within your own country as though you're another country's bitch. And that's really the problem we're looking at here, is that on both sides of the aisle, whether you were talking about your true blue Democrats who were convinced that Trump was always working with the Russians, and so they viewed America as being, the bitch of the Russians. Or if you go back onto the right side and they're convinced everything, is going back to China. That's the problem, is that really it doesn't matter. We are so polarized in America that there's no legitimacy for any candidate. I mean, look at the approval rating of Congress. What is it sitting at? 9%?
It's been a single digits for like almost a decade, but somehow like what is the incumbency win rate? Like 90%. Right?
It doesn't make sense, right?
Because not my congressperson. Oh no, my congressperson's like, no, he's not drinking the blood of children. No, he's awesome. It's that guy in the next state that's a kind of a that's running the child sex ring and eating pizza with
it seems that electoral stuff works perfectly.
Yeah, that's that direct democracy at the House of Representatives level, and of course, extensive gerrymandering.
The gerrymander did crawl right out of the swamp, didn't it? So.
Yeah, dude. Even just looking at like the first congressional runoff here in New Mexico, right? Like the first congressional district somehow encompasses just a little piece of places like Peralta and stuff like that, which are east of me. But I'm in the Republican third. Was it not the third? I'm in the second congressional district, and but you look at the map and it's just like it's literally like my mother-in-law is in the second congressional district, and like her neighbor is in the first congressional district, like literally across the street. And I'm just like,
I mean, what does this all mean? I mean, this brings us right back to Maricopa County, where they're having, what are they, the cyber ninjas? They're having the cyber ninjas.
So what is this all about, Sean? Please, school us.
I was trying to figure it out today. I mean, you guys know, I got it. Everybody go to blogs at Relative Progress. I was kind of focused on writing a little something about some strange occurrences with the CIA, so be sure to go check that out. But I had somebody asking me, well, what's going on with that today? And I said, I don't even know who's running that, because it's such a non-issue to me. I mean, they're not going to be able to change the election results. So it's like, I guess the Republicans are paying to have an audit done by somebody that they like. And then I suppose they'll get the result that they were always after. And I don't even know what's true anymore. And I didn't even know that it matters, because everything is so screwed up where everybody believes exactly what they want to believe. And I don't know that there's any amount of evidence on either side that would convince anybody to change their mind.
And so what if the outcome of this happens to be what some are hoping that it would be, maybe your QAnon types. It's a Pyrrhic victory. It's over. That battle's lost.
Yeah, it's like at this point you're, either you're crying over spilled milk or you're polishing the brass on the Titanic. I don't know. I don't know what they expect to get out of this. Let's say that they do that, and then it forces audits in Georgia and Michigan, Pennsylvania, and let's say somehow they can do that legally to force these audits. Then what? So then we find out that our president is illegitimate later, and what happens then? What is the remedy for that? I mean, there's none.
There's constitutionally no remedy for that.
None at all.
So
it's like you're asking for trouble. I mean, I guess the argument could be that you need to fix these problems.
That's the only reason you do it. That's the only reason you do it. And you wonder why they went full court press when Georgia made tweaks to their election law, and they were trying to go full court press at Texas when they're not even, I don't think they've necessarily even advanced it to the floor in the Texas House for the updates to the voting rules and stuff like that. You even hinted at that they went full court press, which tells you a couple of things. One, they know this is their path to victory. So they're like, hell no, you're not going to change the rules to make it, I don't know, transparent and appear fair to everyone in America. So no one feels, like we have to, pay cyber ninjas to like run audit trails on electronic voting machines. Also, it kind of proves their guilt that, they did kind of game a little bit of the system using the COVID panic to kind of force through some rules that wouldn't necessarily have happened in a normal election year.
Well, sure.
But again, it's irrelevant. It's a episode of Pyrrhic victories, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, and then if you want to be real cynical, I think you have to admit that there's a great scam that could be part of it, and it almost worked. Let's just say, so Cyber Ninjas, they go down there and they're contracted to audit this vote, and they're being paid to do so. Well, what happened was the Democrats went down to Maricopa County and they said, "Hey, you got to stop the audit," and the judge said, "Well, that's fine. We'll stop the audit, but you guys need to put up $1 million bond to cover the expenses for Cyber Ninja." Like, you're getting paid either way, and you say the best thing we can do is force the Democrats to pay us to sit and wait with our thumb up our ass. And then the best thing, that's the latest thing, was the judge who made that ruling. He's now stepped out of it, and he said that he doesn't want any part of it. So they got to find.
Did he recuse himself?
Yes.
Okay. Why? I guess is he a Republican appointee?
Unclear. Yeah. Well, that part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's why. Because no one wants to run that pension, and also the places.
All this is just to make money.
Yeah,
dollars, and that's your answer.
Yeah, this is when I break this out, right? Like, it's fine. It's whatever. What if they happen to find out that something nefarious happened? Honestly, guys, it doesn't fucking matter. I told you that the Dunkirk moment was to drag your troops off the beach, and that invasion, this battle wasn't going to be won. It's not going to be joined. Just drag your fucking troops back onto the ships, and let's go back to the island, and we can come back with D-Day. This is not the hill to die on, guys. This is not the hill to die on.
I don't know what we're worried about all this for, anyways. I mean, gosh, the Oscars. It's very important.
Hey, so this is my ballywig. So I have this theory, and I went back and I looked at this with my wife, because my wife actually hates it when it's this time of year. So me and my daughter tend to like to collect all the Best Picture nominees, be it streaming, be it download, piracy, whatever, so we can watch every last one of them, right?
Yeah. And
basically, we can make a determination based on what will win the Oscars. We have been able to predict it for the last 4 years, because it was pretty evident when I watched Nomadland,
yes,
which is basically another depressing movie with Frances McDormand, who does a depressing movie every fucking year.
Can you give us a synopsis here, if you would, though?
Okay, so Nomadland is about
we're gonna break the rules, and we're going to talk.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a movie. I'm sorry, guys. So Nomadland is basically, let's put it to you this way: it's Trump's America. She lived in a company town that did mining in Nevada, Empire, Nevada, and her husband died of cancer, and the company closed down, and she was forced to abandon the place, and now she lives on the road in vans, right? Because there's this nomad living that's actually kind of a trend.
Classic Americana, really.
But here, the whole movie
I want to watch.
So the whole dude, it's super depressing. The whole movie is her just going from place to place. Like, she works Amazon at an Amazon fulfillment center in the winter. No, never happens. During the winter and the holiday months. Then she works at like the Badlands National Monument during the summers, and then she goes whatever, and she forms these relationships with these other old people who are just kind of living a nomad life, and one catches cancer, one goes back to live with their family, one goes back to live with his family. She's alone. She never had kids. And she's like, of course, you look at the movie and it's just like, oh, I really hate this character. She's like mean. That's why she's alone. She's mean, and she has the opportunity to live with this guy and his family in California, to get off the road, to have something semblance of a family, and she chooses just to live in her van. And that's really the gist of the whole movie. And she goes at the end of the movie, she goes back to her old like company town and like stares at the desert.
So
what
is the purpose of her living this life, though? Do they get into the deeper meaning of that, or
I guess they get it? I can't quite figure out why we are supposed to focus. I guess it's supposed to be a commentary of the emptiness of Trump's America, because I mean, you know, they didn't really shit on Amazon because Amazon wouldn't have let them in the fulfillment center to film if they did. But it kind of made this existence out to be like, you know, America's just not the same. And, you know, actually there's some stuff about the banks in there too, Lou. You might want to like
get after the banks, then we know he's down.
Do you think that that's also like a future that's going to be known to more Americans?
I think more baby boomers than we know of, and this is mainly who was in this movie. More baby boomers than we know of are going to be forced to live this life because, you know, me and my wife are like, it's not that bad of a life, right? But I'm going to make sure I have a house to come back to, but I wouldn't mind getting in not necessarily a van, maybe a fifth wheel, maybe an RV, maybe disappear for a month at a time, go somewhere cool, hang out with other older people, do things and stuff like that. So it's kind of redeeming in a way because it's like these people are kind of living their own way, but they're not living probably the way they thought they were going to live. They didn't think they were going to work in old age. And here's the deal though. It is the future, Lou, because like young people aren't going to work. There's UBI dropping from the sky every 6 months. We've spent $500 billion and invested it in the stock market, more than we've invested in the last 12 years. So yes, old people are probably going to be just living in vans and living in RVs, not necessarily because of hardship, though I think that's going to be a lot of it because a lot of them are going to get to the end and not have any retirement. But yeah, they're going to be working these odd jobs. Like your Amazon fulfillment center is going to be filled with a bunch of old people here pretty soon and robots.
Yeah, because they're, like you say, they're the only ones that are actually willing to go out and get a job at this point.
Yeah, this is true because one, either they don't have the choice or they don't or like the kids. In this movie, she had no kids, right? You know, so I'm just like, well, that's a depressing fucking life. It's just like,
you know, I don't know.
What did you think was going to be second up, and did you think that was going to be number one?
Oh no, I knew when I got halfway through it, this wins Best Picture.
You couldn't even finish it, but you knew that was going to win, and they're shitty.
You know why? Three reasons. It's a sad commentary on Trump's America because that's when it was filmed. 2, it was a Chinese American director. Yeah, and made by a Chinese American in the year of Stop Asian Hate. It was easily going to win. I called the Green Book. I called Moonlight. I didn't call Shape of Water because I didn't think bestiality with a fish was going to win Best Picture.
So did you actually watch the Oscars though?
No, I never watch. No, we always watch Best Picture. You know,
at some point,
that's all we watch.
I'll have to review and see how much straight up satanic imagery they put into the.
Hey, so
you're talking about the Oscars?
Yeah, I mean, the way they've been dropping it at the Super Bowl and everything else. Let's get on with it. I hope everybody was wearing their blood-filled Nikes. While Jim Caviezel, some of you may know him as Jesus from The Passion of the Christ.
He'll never live that down.
Caught a bunch of flack. He'll never get an Oscar again.
He'll never get an Oscar.
He can forget it. He probably kiss his whole career goodbye.
Speaking of,
so what did you think the number 2 movie was going to be?
Kiss their career goodbye.
The number 2 would have probably been. I'd have to look at the list again. So I call like The Trial of the Chicago 7 is actually a good movie. Even its history is a little jointed, but it's still pretty good. I think Judas and the Black Messiah. I've heard that was good. I've been wanting to watch that. I figured that would win, and any movie with Chadwick Boseman would have probably won because that one Netflix movie he was in before he died was a good movie. It was a good movie. But you kind of looked at it and it's just like it's a pretentious art house film that shits on America, shits on our materialism, shits on a lot of things, and it's depressing, and it has a character arc that's basically a circle. Yeah, it was going to win.
Yeah, that seems reasonable to me. I think it's important to remember, Lou, that Thad sits here and he talks about how we're going to see a lot of old people working at Amazon centers and taking these jobs, but I don't think that's really a concern. That's why we have the vaccine to take care of that. Good night, everybody.